Everyone is encouraged to watch the PowerPoint that's being streamed. Random, you ready?
Yep.
Great. Let's go ahead and get started then. I want to first start off by saying a big welcome to everyone joining us tonight for a very special learning event. My name is Shadra, and with me is Random Task, and we will be your hosts tonight as we all learn how to be better players together. Before we get started, though, I want to tell you a little bit about the event and what to expect. All attendees will be muted during the event. We definitely want to try to minimize interruptions and promote clarity of communication. If you have a question that you want to ask our guest, you can submit it to the submitted questions chat, and the questions will be moderated and answered during the Q&A part of the event. And Random Task is going to be our host for all of the submitted questions. And if you are not comfortable submitting a question in the submitted questions, you're welcome to send Random Task directly your anonymous question, and he will read that to our guest as an anonymous question. So a little bit further about the event here. Part one of the event, for those who are newly joining, you may watch the stream. We have a PowerPoint. Part one of the event, we will introduce Valamar and ask him to tell us a bit about his history and his achievements. Part two, he will answer 18 prepared questions submitted by various teams across the BFT organization and community. And the primary topics are, we're going to have several questions about the game meta, some questions about drafts, some questions about healing, and then we have a couple of others to share. Part three of the event is a general Q&A for all attendees. And the way this is going to work is you submit your questions in the submitted questions text, or you submit them anonymously to Random Task. And when we get to the Q&A section, Random Task is going to moderate those questions and read them to our guest. And our guest is going to answer those questions. Part four is we have a surprise for Valamar, our guest, for coming out. And then part five is going to be the closing remarks. Random, this is your show here. He's going to tell you a little bit about BFT.
Okay. Well, before we welcome our guests, we want to tell you a little bit about BFT community. In the void, there was nothing. And then came Zed. Zed wanted to create an organization that could provide a place for new players and teams to navigate the competitive scene. And additionally, more recently, I would say, he's been helping old timers like me, just helping them recruit to just have a team because he's really interested in trying to get as many teams for NGS as possible. I'd say we have more of a casual and fun environment here where we hold events like Wacky Wednesday, just kind of just like a silly day, open house custom games, free agent nights, and of course interviews. Uh, yeah. So anyway.
So
I will say also that we don't discriminate here. We have all. I would say most of the teams are probably between Div E and C. Obviously, I play. We have a Div B team this season. My team's Div A. But we accept anyone. We're willing to accept anyone to come in as long as you're willing to build a respectable team and not cause any trouble. Anyone's welcome.
we've got the list of the bullet point list of things that Bunker Fun Time can provide.
Yep.
Knowledgeable players that help each other navigate the competitive scene. We have learning events. We have open houses, cross-team camaraderie, multiple levels of play, B5 to master, coaching, assistance with team organization and recruiting, and much more. So, now, without further ado, we are excited to present this evening's guest. We are pleased to introduce a player who has not only competed on several professional Heroes of the Storm teams and organization and game platforms like HGC, CCL, and more, but has earned prize money. And when I say earned, I mean earned, not just a lucky night in solo queue. Our guest is arguably one of the best healers in the game and has been at least since the pandemic. And our guest is the best Lucio player, at least in North America, I believe in the world. And how much better can it get than that? But not only is our guest one of the best healers in the game, he's also a master Chen player, if you can believe that. So, can you start? So, first of all, everyone, I want everyone to please welcome Valamar, our special guest for this evening. Thank you, Valamar, for coming and agreeing to do this event.
Uh, Thank you.
Can you start by telling us a little bit about how you got started?
So, I think I started around near the end of open beta. I think Kael'thas was the most recent hero. So I got to deal with getting living bombed to waves and dying immediately. That was really fun. My brother got me the game. I recently was playing League of Legends, but I didn't really like the laning phase. And Hotz's lack of laning phase and much more active team fights was something that gripped me pretty quickly. I initially started as a to try to play tank, and that didn't go too well because I'm a pretty reserved player. I like to play safer, and as a tank, I can cause problems. So I would get in a chair league, and I would play ranged assassin, usually ranged auto attackers. And gosh, this is so long ago. Sometimes I would flex Chen on it way back then, but I can't remember how well we did. I think we were one of the better teams. Not like top five though, but in the upper echelons. After I would stop doing that, I would join a team called Team Cynics, where I would play range for them, and we had a few achievements there. We got pretty far in HSC Open. I remember beating a few teams that were pretty notable. Um, we would eventually though crash and burn, and I would move over to trait value, which initially I was going to play range assassin for, but during the sub, I was subbing for them, and I played support, and they just said I was really good on support, and I should say, and the team would be the spot would be 100% offered to me if I was supporting for them, and so I took it, and that's how I became a support main, and I haven't changed since. I dabble in off lane here and there, but uh, support would be my main role from there. After trait value would burn down, I would go on and join Team Reborn as the main support for that team. It was a really fun team. I really like playing them, and we got really close to being a top team for AGC Open. We were second, and we lost to Storm Gaming, but that was the closest I ever came to like with a amateur team breaking into AGC. And maybe it's better that it didn't happen because shortly after then the announcement we all remember hit, and AGC died.
Sure.
So
Yeah, sure.
maybe if maybe it's good we got second place in our first because that would have been even more crushing.
I get that. I definitely get that. So, can you tell us a little bit about what it's like to play on a professional esports team? I mean, you have experience with NGS, a lot of experience. You currently still play in NGS. But can you tell us, are there any fundamental difference between playing in NGS now and what it was like to play, and on Trait Value and Reborn and even Onyx and Diamond Hands and CCL?
Compared to today, there was a lot more VOD review. We would have scheduled days for VOD review. Um, I wasn't on like super hardcore teams except for trait value and team cynics. The team environment there was a bit more harsh. I'll get to that in one of the meta questions. But the other teams have been pretty jovial, and I've really liked being a part of them, and that probably led to a lot of the success of those teams. That everyone liked each other. So despite it being a professional environment, it was still pretty chill. But obviously, we would take learning experiences much more important. VOD review, much more open to criticism, stuff like that.
So
Whereas
tell me. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
whereas nowadays it's just kind of like where everyone's just chilling. It was
Yeah.
much more serious back then.
So tell us a little bit about your achievements on this. On the PowerPoint now, we're showing a list of achievements that you have and the earnings that I guess you or your team had earned during specific events or tournaments. So tell us what it was like to to make money. I mean, that's gotta kick your game up a notch, right? When money's on the line, or was it not? Was it just the money was just kind of a bonus?
I just liked playing Heroes of Storm, so money was definitely a bonus. I just liked focusing myself and just trying to be the best support player in the league.
Well, you've definitely accomplished that. So, what I'd like to do is, so tell us about Chen before we get started on the first question here. Tell us about your Chen play. Why did you stop playing Chen?
Um, I've said before, I'm also like off-roll offlaner, and the main problem I have with Chen, he's still a very fun hero, and I do like picking him up from now and again, but it's his wave clear. His wave clear is really bad. So the default strategy you employ as Chen because your wave clear is like it's not only is like it's bad, the numbers just aren't good, but his main wave clearing waves is Breath of Fire, which is a dot, which is over time. And like Lunara's not known for wave clearing, and she still has a talent that like it doubles the dot of like on mini waves, and she's still not considered like a good wave clear hero. So like on Chen, it's just painfully slow. So the strategy just defaults to letting the enemy offlaner clear, and then drinking like in front of your towers right outside their range, so you freeze the wave. And then whenever the other offlaner comes in, you just try to kill him and back him away, make him miss soak, and you usually have to default one of your team members to keep grabbing the soak mid. So like on Towers of Doom, you'd be freezing top, and one of your off the flex off ranged would have to keep grabbing mid over and over, which can lose you tempo. And it always
Mm,
means as Chen, you show up to the objectives late.
I see.
And
Well, thank you for that.
as
Oh, go
I've
ahead.
played
Sorry.
as I've played offlaner, whereas like Blaze clears waves so fast, Hogger deletes waves, Tahaka's uh kills waves and is basically ungankable. It really compounds like how bad Chen's wave clear is.
Hmm.
That's too bad. You were I saw I remember some years back, and we're talking, back when I was still bronze, and I was really new to the game, and I remember being on Blackheart's Bay, and you were on Chen, and there were five. You were on the point, on the turn-in point, and you were 1v5ing on as Chen, the enemy team, and you killed them all, and I was in awe and amazement of that. So I that stuck with me forever.
Yeah,
But
there is some view people have that like on lower ranks that Chen's either unkillable or you focus too much into him. And at higher ranks, people don't do that. If you are out of position in Chen, the entire enemy team will hit you, and you will eventually die. Whereas like in lower ranks, there's like one guy hitting you. There's like one guy who's like, I don't know, I don't think I should hit Chen. It's just my damage is gonna be a waste. And because that damage is split, it lets Chen kind of like run amok.
yep.
But in higher ranks, they will not let you get away with that. In higher ranks, Chen is picked for Wandering Keg.
So moving on, I have the very first question that we have here is kind of near and dear to my heart specifically, because one of the things I've noticed about you that I always thought was very admirable was your approach to the game, or your sportsmanship, your attitude towards the game and the people you play with. So, could you tell us a little bit about how sportsmanship plays a role in the success of your personal game? How your attitude and sportsmanship plays a role in that, and the success of a team in general?
Yeah. So in general, the best teams are teams that like the players don't want to just win themselves, but they want their teammates to succeed, which makes it so that people just work together, just like even without thinking about it. Um, Team Cynics and Trait Value, as I stated before, they had a one big issue, and it's on both teams. There was two players that would consistently butt heads, and I would try to have like pretty trolly comms to try to uplift the team atmosphere, and it carried into ACA, whereas a lot of those players are they share that view. They're just absolute goon comms, but they're really fun to like be a part of. So I would always look forward to scrims with them. Some days I wouldn't look forward to scrims on Team Six or Trey Vibe because like I know like these two would just butt heads. And it would eventually hit a point where the motivation would just go down and down and the players were not improving, including me. And it would
Mm.
eventually cause a team to crash and burn. So it might not be apparent like the first few months you get together, but if like players don't like each other, your team can is very liable to crash and burn. That happened in both the Cynics and Trade Value.
Are there any easy answers to that? Like, is it just like change my thinking, change or change their thinking? You know, is there any are there any easy answers to like say subjectively or individually? We want to get better at not being antagonistic with any team members or whatever. Because I think at all most of us at some point, probably not you, but most of us at some point have had some kind of clash with a team member. Is there is there a magic formula for getting better around that or no?
That's hard because every player is like different.
Is there anything a captain can do?
Hmm, anything a captain can do. I don't know. I haven't had to really deal with this so much. I don't know if I have a great answer.
Sure,
It's
that's okay. We can move to the next
it's
one.
really subjective. Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about that ahead of time. So let's move on to the next question. So we're in the meta group of questions for everybody that's joined us right now. We've got several questions that are meta based. So they're kind of outside the game. So this question came to us: what should comms look like in terms of how much should the non-shot callers be talking? Should it be 100% the shot caller dominating comms, or should the DPS and healer also be talking consistently? What is your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
So this type of comms is where a shot caller has a final call and everything. It should never be a 100% shot caller dominate comms. The others should talk and feed information to the shot caller, point out CDs, point out the map state, and then don't like tell the team to do anything. Just give that information to the shot caller, let them make the call, and then everyone follows it.
Great. Random, did you have anything that you wanted to ask about this?
No, I mean, that's a pretty good
That's
answer. I
okay, great.
Do you think that it could vary depending on because there's some teams, and I know I've heard this from an HCC coach before. Some teams literally like don't have a shot caller; they just all kind of know where to be, and they kind of just call things. And then there's some teams that need more direction. Do you think it just matters depending on the personnel?
It just matters based on the team. Most of the teams I were on was just like everyone's making calls, but there are pros and cons to each. The cons is per shot caller, it puts a lot of weight on that player because they can't because it hurts them mechanically because there's so much they have to think about. And if at any point they get confused and like their train of thought derails, your comms really take a hit and someone usually has to pick it up. But if the shot caller is good and they call stuff out and everyone on the team knows to follow that shot caller, their target priority can usually be better than a team that like has everyone like just making calls. Whereas with everyone making calls, there's not all this weight thrust onto one single player. So it's spread amongst the team so everyone can play mechanically well.
Hmm. Cool. Yeah.
Great. Great. Okay, so just a reminder to everybody who's here, if you have a question, everybody is muted so that we can ensure clarity of communication. However, if you have a question for the GM, random task is moderating the submitted questions in the submitted questions chat area. And he's going to be facilitating the answering of those questions with Valamar in the Q&A section after the interview. So if you have any questions, please submit them to the submitted questions chat channel. And if you want to talk to other attendees, you can do so in the events channel, the events chat channel, text chat channel. Okay, so Valamar, what are the signs of a good coach and why?
So I've only coached a couple of times, but I'll try my best. The main thing is a coach, they should point out your mistake and then say why it's a mistake, and then give you like a rough estimate of like what they should have done in that situation. Um, basically any criticism the coach gives should be supplied without why. Why would I do that? Why is this good? Why should I not have done that? And another thing is the coach should a lot of coaches just like default to like I need to like talking like what you should be doing in like a grandmaster game, like even if it's like they do it like even if they're like coaching a silver player. I would say a good point would be like to coach like within like 2 league ranks. Like don't expect like don't coach a silver player to do stuff that would be expected in GM, but like maybe stuff in gold or platinum, like not to like overwhelm them. And a coach should also point out good things the player is doing and why it's good, versus like their other team, the other players in the match, for example, or whatever role they're against. Maybe compare if they're a support player, like compare them to the support they were facing, like if they did better than them, if they did worse than them, stuff like that.
Do you think it's important for a coach to be? I think sometimes. Do you think it's important for a coach to be able to maybe listen to a player and maybe acknowledge that sometimes that they can provide something that's useful too? Like they say something and the coach might have not thought about it that way.
Yeah, especially if it's like a grandmaster coach and a silver player, like maybe there's like metas like in the silver that like coach is not used to. Like I know in silver, like Asman's like a really good hero, but in like GM, like I never see him. So if like Asman is like in 1 in 3 games, the coachee might need to tell the coach like I have to play against this hero and what to expect from them.
Great. Okay, on to our next question. So, besides just playing more, are there any drills a team can do to improve team fighting?
The only time I drilled anything was way back on Cynics. We had a Latinum team that we would drill with just team fights around Cursed on the tribute. You can get a team you can like ask a team to do it for you if you're like close to them, but they should probably not be in your div because that way like you could like see their drafts, like stuff like that. So that's like more of a formality.
Oh, so just kind of so if I understand you correctly, just kind of brawl in a sandbox environment around a curse objective and just everybody's all in there.
Yeah, and like the shock horror there would like give a go, like say go like we're gonna bait out ancestral, we're gonna back up, but we need to re-engage before they cap the tribute. Like as if it was like a curse game where like we're down keeps, they're 2-3 on curse, and if they get that curse, we lose the game. So it would be like we can't just bait ancestral and just like leave and be happy with it. We have to like pretend this is a situation where if we lose this curse, we lose the game. As for 101 drills, there are some hero specific ones I did in the past. Toronto Diablo was one main one I did. And it would just be the Diablo would charge someone against the wall and would randomly E immediately, would move to the side, then E, or wait out this entire stun E, not tell me, and I have to react to it in time, and then we would get like a percentage of how many of those I hit.
Um, so someone who had I did have a lot of experience doing a lot of drills, especially like when I played a lot. Um, do you think it's ever useful to? Do you think it's ever useful to like just run? You know, Dragonshire is a good example of a map where you have to run really complicated rotations. Do you think it's ever good to just be like, okay, we're playing against the AI and we're gonna do all these rotations and do all the camps and push this way. Have you ever done that?
I don't know how much you'd get from that because the AI is just really weird on Dragonstar specifically. Sometimes they ignore the shrine. Uh,
Well,
sometimes the statue would be up and they would go do a camp, which players would never do that.
so I'm just to mean like you practice like the first 2 minutes of the game, and then you just like rotate mid, bot, mid, camps, stuff like that.
If it's a quick one, I think that's fine. Extended one against the AI, I don't think you glean too much from, but a good 2 minutes, that could be fine. Yep.
Okay.
Do you think it's to add more, like if you're practicing a specific combo as well, like you don't necessarily need another team to do, like practice a taunt follow up or something, right?
Yeah, like combos like something like Gaz grab bomb and then like Phoenix ulting off of it. You could do that against AI because AI does have weird movement, which would be mimic what a player could do. So you could do that on AI.
Cool.
Great. So on to our next question. To learn a brand new hero, I mean, we all have this fantasy that Microsoft's going to do something with the game. Let's say I'm a lower ranked player, I haven't played a hero yet, and I want to learn a brand new hero. What approach would you use to learn the strengths and limitations of the hero and how it would impact your game against it?
So how I prepare for a Master Chief 6 years from now, I would probably go into training mode. Just test out the abilities, see like how much does this hero wave clear, like are they sustain damage, are they burst, and like look at the talents and make your own assumption of what talents are good. And something you can do is in the past used to be pretty bad information, but Icy Veins has been a lot better uh these days. So you could probably glean a build from Icy Veins that would do good enough for you. I guess if it was like 6 years now, Master Chief does come out, something like that. There wouldn't be a build in Icy Veins, but if it's like a present hero, like you could probably find something in Icy Veins. And then I would go into QM. I would play pretty conservative, just try not to die too much, try to contribute to team fights. Once I get a bit more confident, I would play QM, but I would start to limit test. I would be a lot more aggro, and see how well that does. If I'm dying too much, I'll dial it back. If I get to a point where I'm limit testing QM and like I'm doing well, then I'll take it into Storm League and play conservatively. And then if you start to do well conservatively in Storm League, start busting out in the scrims if you think it's a good hero for it. And then after that, like start limit testing in the Storm League. Play more aggro in Storm League, see what you can get away with to kind of push your limits.
Nice. So
You
I,
know,
I have to, Random, I have to follow this up with a question.
okay.
What you go ahead and ask yours first.
Well, I was gonna say, people meme me all the time for saying to play quick match, but that's actually how I've learned. But how many games? How much do you think you need to play quick match before you can go into Storm League?
Uh, like if it's just learning a specific hero.
Yeah,
Like, say
learning
you
a new hero.
like you're like, okay, I'm a DPS. My team told me to learn this hero. Like, how much do you think? Do you think it varies a lot depending on the hero, or?
It would vary based on how much you're struggling, but I would say in general, maybe 5 to 8 games to start building that would build your muscle memory.
And then you'd go to the Storm League.
Yeah. If you
Okay.
notice you're dying a lot, maybe not contributing a lot, maybe bump it up to like 10 to 12 games.
I'm assuming if it's a harder hero, if it's like Hogger or something,
Yeah.
maybe too, it could be, or Hanzo.
Yeah.
Okay. You can ask
So
your
you
question now.
so you talked about Master Chief becoming a Heroes of the Storm character. So I have to touch upon that. So one of the things I was going to try and say for the Q&A part of it for my Q&A, but I think you brought up a good thing. So, with your professional connections of the past and present, has anyone or have you heard any rumors about what Microsoft is planning on doing with our game?
No, it's all just
Ah,
copium.
bummer, bummer. Okay, that answers it. Okay, so on to the next question. Your team wasn't able to counterpick well in the draft. Can you speak on ways to counter tough enemy combos while in game if your team does not have a good answer to it?
So first, you would need to identify what type of combo it is. Is this like a team fight winning combo? Let's say like it's Gazlo, Diablo, Phoenix. They would grab bomb into APOC, into Phoenix laser, and they would kill all of you. So that's a team fight like comp. So maybe you just can't win any team fights. You have to macro and play around the map. And if you can get ahead on the map, that way you can push them to a point where like if you're threatening keep, Gazlo needs to leave or Phoenix needs to leave and clear that wave, and then whoever your offlaner was that was pushing that can then come back to the fight, make it a 5v4, and they've lost an important piece. And if it's something like maybe a Zeratul Abathur, and you don't have any like CC for it, then macro would not be the answer because whoever would go to get macro would get picked by the Zeratul with the Abahat. Instead, you would have to just like like mosh together as like a unit and stay really close together. So identifying what their win con is with their comp and trying to play around it to the best of your comp's ability. Sometimes it's unwinnable. Like if you're like a Samuro comp, you went Samuro Abathur, uh, and they pick like Sergeant Hammer, and you forgot to ban that hero, might be Jeej. But again, like in that case, Sergeant Hammer would be all about the team fight. So you just hope Samuro Abathur like just takes all the forts to the best you can.
Mm.
Do you think also, as an added bonus, that you could maybe try to like hyper focus on something specific that you can do to win a game? Like you can say like, okay, well they might win this team fight, but we know that this guy likes to be in this lane at a certain time or something. Like this guy's out of position, so maybe we can punish that or something along
Yeah,
those lines.
yeah. Usually, if you're losing a lot of team fights, a good general strategy is to gank the offlaner. Because if even if they're like combos better than yours, if you can get a significant XP lead by having their offlaner dead and they miss soak, and then someone else has to go get that soak, and then you could push a fort or something down like 3v4 in your favor. That's a general thing you can always do.
I would also assume some form of unpredictability would be useful.
Yeah, if you're just gonna push the same fort, like you're just trying to run top like over and over and over again to avoid them, they're gonna preemptively just send someone there that's not as important a piece and just hold the lane while their main 3-piece stays there.
How does hard CC versus soft CC impact game strategy?
Generally, hard CC is significantly more favorable to a soft CC. There are a lot of heroes in this game that, if you do not have hard CC, they will kind of run your comm down. Illidan, Mal'Ganis, Genji, and Genji is like already good into CC just because the hero's crazy, and like Zeratul and that Zeratul Abathur, like the previous question, the tough enemy comps. If you got counterpicked, if you have no CC in a Zeratul Abathur at 16, they kind of just win.
Yeah.
So you have to be aware that if you're going to draft low CC, something like Tyrael, you have to be very aware of these heroes. A good counter to if you have low CC in general is to pick Hammer. Hammer is really good into heroes like Mal'Ganis, Zeratul, Genji, and Tracer, and can be your only way out sometimes. If you notice like we have no CC and they just pick Zeratul and we got last pick, you can just slam a Hammer. That kind of fixes it. It might not always be available to you though. But
So,
soft
oh,
CC in general wants long fights because hopefully with soft CC you at least have a lot of sustain. Maybe you're double healer with like a Vala, and the entire premise is like it's maybe something like Morales, Anduin, Vala, Tyrael, and the whole premise is just keep Vala alive. Vala keeps running forward to protect her, and eventually the enemy will run out of resources and they'll have to forfeit the objective or whatever is there. But you have to be prepared to play a long game. If you're against hard CC at any moment, if like someone slips up, if Tyrael had to use Saint early, if you're out of pulls from the Anduin, and if they get stun Vol and catch her, then you just die, and you have to be very aware of that. In general, soft CC games are a lot more demanding of that team.
I'll play a little devil advocate here on two aspects.
Go ahead.
If you're talking about Do you find that? I will say that you say that hard CC is always better, but what if you're going to someone like Joe? Joanna.
Joe still is like is scared of hard CC. If her D is down, that's like called like Johanna no G, Johanna no D. I've heard that like so many times. Johanna uses D early, and then you stun her and then you kill her. So
You
every hero fears CC. Just some are shut down more than others, like Mal'Ganis. If there's no CC in this game, Mal'Ganis would be S plus plus tier.
right? So I guess I would say like I think Joe would hate like Sands of Time is something I always bring up. With Chromie, like Joe would hate going into that more than she would like dealing with a large chain stun, in my opinion, right? Like especially if she's initiating the engage and she presses D, like she doesn't care about most of that stuff. But if she gets caught in the slowing hands, then she's kind of dead.
Yeah, consistent slows can be annoying for Johanna because they're usually not worth popping your D for, but they will cause you to take more damage if you're just slowed, and it's letting the range out assassin like chip you more. There are some heroes that definitely impact. There's some that don't care, like Muradin or Mal'Ganis. They don't care at all. Noob doesn't care.
Like Diablo cares about hard, soft CC a lot more. I feel like.
Yeah, for example, if Diablo fails an engage into an Arthas and Arthas sticks on him, that Diablo's good as dead.
Would you say that their mobility has something to do with it? Because I feel like a really mobile character would probably hate hard CC more than soft CC.
Yeah, definitely. Genji, Zeratul. Those two just do not care about slows if they have CDs up. They don't care at all.
Cool. I was gonna ask
Great.
another question, but I don't. It's all right. Oh, this is my question.
How many different types of comps do you recommend a team should have?
In general, at minimum, I'd say 3 comps. Your team should have just like a team fight dominant comp, objective win comp, and a macro comp. And usually, the way it works is macro beats team fight beats objective, and objective beats macro.
When you
So
say
some,
objective, do you mean like a protect or sustain? Or I guess I'm
objective would be like something like Infernal Shrines. A really powerful objective combo Infernal Shrines would be Alex and Odin. You just get 20 minions, and then one of them pops Odin a dragon, and you usually do not want to fight into those stuff, but they force the issue. Either you drop the objective because you don't want to fight in a dragon Alex, or you still fight the objective, but you have to fight in a dragon Alex.
okay.
And they also threaten like Sylve could be another thing. If you let Sylve get the objective, she could push really hard with it. And a macro punt would just be you rat, you avoid all team fights, you try to get more than the objective.
Okay, so I'm
They're usually better on maps where the objective is not as strong. So like a good example would be something like Garden, maybe something like Tomb, and a bad example would be something like Battlefield of Eternity. Battlefield of Eternity is the objective is really powerful on that map.
so an objective comp, a macro comp, and a fight comp.
Yeah.
At least 3. Okay. What do you
Yeah.
think about protect comps? I mean, that's just one I've heard recently, and I'm wondering what you're thinking about because there are other comps too, correct?
Yeah. There's also like damage types like single target like CC blow up, which does require a lot of coordination. There's
Mm,
this like slow damage where you just like whittle them down and you just slowly push their forts and eventually you get the fort just because your team is just like this big wall and maybe they can't reach Vala, they can't reach Hammer, they can't reach Chromie.
okay. Random task. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start going through the questions a little bit faster because we're starting to get low on time. So I want to make
Okay.
sure that we're going to get through them all. So, under what circumstances might you leave a bruiser or assassin for last pick in a draft? Is there ever a time when you would not do that? What's your drafting philosophy in general?
In general for Bruiser, the big thing for Bruiser is leaving them open for to win the point on Braxis. That can be really important if you're not sure your 4-man wins. Assassin doesn't really apply too much to Assassin. The main thing for Assassin is you don't want to double pick them because then you show your entire damage early to the enemy comp. That's especially bad if they can still pick healer, because their healer just gets to see what your damage type is, and then they can just like look through those supports and just decide which one's the best really easily.
Mhm. And which heroes do you think are considered safe to draft early?
So I'll go by her roles. For tank, the safest one is probably Johanna. She secures you wave clear. She is pretty independent, and there's a lot of heroes that even that don't synergize with her in fights appreciate her. One note is Genji. Genji doesn't play very well with Joe in fights, but Genji does very much appreciate the wave clear that Joe brings, which allows Genji to not have to catch waves too often, which lets him stay on like rotations and harass. The other one is Muradin. Muradin is there's no real like comp that just like 100% counters Muradin. He's just really flexible. One hero that people think is like just first pick for their time is Diablo, and once you get higher, that's not really true. If Diablo is shown early, the enemy team can pick a lot of percent damage and just make him obsolete. For bruisers, there's the Triforce currently going on right now between the Haka, Blaze, and Hogger. Those are the three safest offliners. They are hard to gank. They contribute very well to team fights, and because they're so flexible, there's a lot of chances that don't like Pixie Bruiser early. They just like to slam the Haka, Blaze, Hogger early, and then they can leave their support or assassin later. For ranged, you don't usually want to pick your ranged too early. You kind of want to see some of the draft. But the standouts here are Genji. If you're good enough at Genji, he's pretty much always good. Hanzo is pretty much always good. And Junkrat is also pretty good. Junkrat is pretty independent, and Junkrat also provides really high wave clear and vision control by throwing traps in bushes. So your tank doesn't have to ward as much, or you can ward one bush with Junkrat, have your tank ward the other. Uh, Melee assassin, the only one that sticks out is Maiev. I don't know even if I'd first pick Maiev, but if some player's good enough, you can maybe 2-3 her. But I think for melee assassin, I wouldn't first pick any of these. And for healer, the standouts usually are Brightwing, just because her global is always appreciated. And there's a lot of heroes right now that really hate polymorph, and having that early in the draft can be really nice. And Rhaegar, just because a lot like Murden, he's very flexible and is the only support really with good wave clear. And on some maps, Lucio can also be really good. Any maps where rotation is really important, like Alterac Pass, Curse Hollow, and Dragonshire, where controlling Try is really important. So
Mm,
Lucio can also be there.
mhm.
And for the weird like 4 support heroes, none of the 4.
Okay. It's good to know. Is there ever a situation where a team can go 2 healers? If so, in lower ranks, which healers work well together and why?
2 healers kind of facilitates the protect comp, as I've said earlier. There's the Tyrael, the Vala, and the Mouse and like Ando and something like that. This is kind of a cheap answer, but I kind of have to give it Stukov Uther. They synergize extremely well together. Stukov's main problem is Stukov has high healing, but if someone is getting stunned, Stukov has no answer outside of Super Strain. But Uther's like the burst healer. He has the fat heal with armor on top. He's got the cleanse, which Stukov really appreciates. And Uther is really bad at sustain healing, but Stukov just like solves that for him. And if Uther is caught out, Stukov can flail for him to get out. And if Stukov is caught out, Uther can de-shield him, let him walk out. So that's like by far and away the best support duo, but it'd kind of be criminal not to point it out.
Mm, mm,
As for
yeah.
other healers, Anduin Morales is really good. If the enemy's way to win is kill Morales, and they get on Morales, Anduin can just pull her out. And sometimes that if they blew everything to kill Morales, and Anduin pulls them out and they have nothing left, they can just lose a team fight. If that is their win con, if they can't contest with the whatever range assassin is in that comp.
Mm. Well, what do you think are the 3 or 4 best healers in the game? And what heroes pair best with them? And who should you avoid running with them?
So I think the first three are pretty obvious. It's Brightwing, Lucio, and Rhaegar. They're just generally really good. The fourth one is where it kind of gets a little iffy, and that at that point it's really comp dependent. I guess if I had to say, it would be Anduin, just because Anduin doesn't have too many counters and the pull can be really helpful. But again, that's kind of sketch. For Brightwing, what is usually bad with Brightwing is really squishy, is like a really squishy backline. Uh, her Z is much better on like beefy tanks, and Brightwing is not good at helping like one range duel the other range because her healing throughput is not very strong. For Lucio, I would say a comp that demands a lot of healing, especially early game, is really bad for Lucio. So like stall, like slow comps, it's like stuff like hyper carry centric comps, I wouldn't say Lucio is too great with. A more general balanced comp, especially one where the tank really appreciates the speed boost, would be much better suited for Lucio. Rhaegar's very similar to Lucio, and any comp that demands really heavy healing, it can be fine once Rhaegar gets the double ancestral, because that can just turn a fight, but it's not really Rhaegar's strength. And Anduin struggles with comps and can just kind of force his pull, and then you can just kind of like disengage immediately.
Mm,
As for bad heroes, there's nothing that really stands out for these four in particular. There's a few that come to mind for others, like Stukov. Stukov is with Phoenix is really annoying because Stukov's kind of way of healing is not really good for Phoenix because of the shield. Because by the time you need to heal Phoenix, his main health pool, not counting shield, is so low he kind of dies. And if he's ever down to like without his shield, he wants to warp away. And it's happened before. If you throw a Q towards Phoenix as he warps out, Phoenix eats your Q and puts it on full CD, and it fails to spread. So that's like a really bad synergy. There's Lily with Samuro. The clones eat your Qs, and because clones take more damage, they get to lower health thresholds, so they eat way more than you expect.
interesting.
Specific heroes for these heroes though, because they're kind of generalists, there's nothing really they hate. There's no like heroes like really bad with them. The only one that feels bad, I guess, is Brightwind Vol. I've had really bad success with because Brightwind's Vol's health pool is just too low, and Brightwind can't like save her against like a coordinated team. If they blow Vol up, Brightwind can't save. She can try to cleanse, but that puts Brightwind in danger. Like to blink to Vala and cleanse, if you get caught by like another CC that comes in, because there's no unstoppable frames from Brightwind's trait, you can get caught by something when you're doing that. You'd much prefer like a range cleanse, like something like Uther, maybe like an Aegis from Ariel or a pull from Anduin that keeps the support safe in that situation.
As a healer, what are some of the things tanks and DPS players do that make your job harder, and what and that we should avoid doing? So tell us your pet peeves.
Um, the only really things that come to mind for tanks is kind of just like not doing what they're supposed to do. Like if it's like in a noob, I expect a noob to like stay in rotations a lot, ward off bushes. If he's trying to wall and he's just taking free damage because it's a noob's like really squishy. And if he's caught in a stun before he W's, which gives him that spell armor, he can take a lot of damage, and that causes me a lot of resources. Or like maybe a Johanna that's like too focused on warding, not clearing the waves, which means my range is getting hit a lot more. And the main thing for most tanks is if they constantly have to use their pulse to sustain themselves. Now this doesn't count for stuff like Murd and Avatar, but stuff like Johanna's ults, like maybe a noob cocoon, if they're getting poked to the point where like they get scared and they ult for themselves, like think like a Johanna like falling sword just to live, like again a Johanna getting poked and blessing shielding to get herself out. That's like a tool we don't have, and it's kind of like on them. Like they took too much damage, they got scared. If it's like a full blown out team fight, it can be fine. But if it's like just like a skirmish, then kind of rubs me the wrong way. The only thing really for ranged is just kind of if ranged are getting dove, and instead of like running towards me, they run just like in a random direction. That's the only things off the top of my head. I don't usually have too many pet peeves.
Which Stukov build is best for an all-in comp on maps with tight corridors, and why?
Um, is it okay if I share my perspective, like to try to give like a good visual aid?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Okay, so I'll share now and I'll show it. So wait, hold on. I need to make mouth go away. Go away with this. Okay, so the main one is there's two builds for Stukov when corridors are
Choose a
in
talent.
consideration. There's
Choose
the
a
full
talent.
E build and
Choose a
there's
talent. Choose a talent.
popping pustules. And usually when E build is best is when the corridor you were covering, the entire pathway is covered by your E when it grows to max length. So see there, it is completely covered. Those are the best corridors. So Tomb of the Spire Queen near the bottom objective is a good example. In the hallway, you can just drop your E right here. As an example, when it covers the entire thing, you can put it in front of whoever's being dove, and whoever tries to save, they come in. They have to run through the puddle. The only downside to it is usually you want some CC from your comp to start it, and you yourself can be dove while doing it. The other
Choose a
one
talent. Choose a talent.
is
Choose a talent. Choose a
long
talent.
pitch
Choose a
and popping
talent.
pustules, and this one's a lot safer because you're so far away, and it the damage for E is really reliant on the low blow threshold being popped, whereas this one does high damage at all ranges. The way popping pustule works, because it is kind of weird, is if you pop it immediately, nothing happens. But
Choose a
if you let it,
talent. Choose a
my
talent.
bad, wrong one.
Choose a talent.
If you let it get to half and you pop it, you see that crit kicker there, and it explodes in the area, and that's an 80% slow to everybody. And if they're really bunched up, and you pop it, make sure you look at the last one. My fucking thing was on CD, my bad. If they're all bunched up like this, and you look at the last one, you pop it, that hits all of them, so that damage can really stack up. So those are the two best builds for it. Reactive used to be really good when it was much bigger area, but it's too dangerous. You have to go really far in for Stukov, and because the hero has no mobility, I would not recommend it.
Mm.
But TLDR for that is if the growing infestation, if you have like the size of it in your head, if it covers the entire corridor, it's usually the best. And if you're safe doing it, it's a lot better once you get 13, you get in hungers because you get resets and the range increase keeps you safer. Uh, if you don't feel it's that safe or your CC comp is low, you can go long pitch on 7 and popping pustules. And your DPS can like low mobility heroes can get really cucked by it because 80% slow is like basically a root. And the damage that you apply to them can matter for a kill because if they're all grouped up, they take a lot of damage. It's basically like spreading a living bomb at that point.
Thank you for that. That was great. For Rhaegar, when should you take a totem heal at 13 over tidal waves relative to the chain heal cooldown reduction?
Nowadays, never. So when Rhaegar first got his rework, and the totem bill was crazy. The attack speed was on level 1. It was 40%, which is pretty debilitating. And then the big range on 7. It was taken a little bit in the beginning, but pretty quickly people realized it wasn't as good. And the reason because is when you put your totem down as Rhaegar, you usually throw it into the enemy team. And if it's in the enemy team, usually it's only healing your beefy bruiser or your tank, who are not getting as much out of it because it's only like 35% of the value, and it's untalented. So if you took Earth Living Enchant, it's not proccing that. And so if you throw it in your back line to heal the squishy range because it's a flat amount, it's better for them.
then you're not giving that attack speed slow to like the enemy. And tidal waves is also like a really good talent. As long as you hit 3 people and you can use yourself as a conduit for tidal waves, the healing of it these days is significantly higher than E totem, so I would never take it.
Mm.
Their Earth Shield is a lot better in that case because it helps your tank and it lets you prep your ancestral. I vastly prefer Earth Shield on 13, but tidal waves is good if you're put in a situation where you do need more poke kill. There's a lot of comps where rigorous healing feels weak before he gets tidal waves. And sometimes if you feel like in fights like we're just getting chipped down, like if this fight takes too long, like we just lose, you can go tidal waves, and a lot of the time that actually just fixes it as long as you make sure that you always hit 3 targets. And again, remember you can use yourself as a conduit, so you can heal someone behind you, stand in the middle of like that person who you want to heal. It'll bounce to you, and then it'll bounce to whoever you wanted it to actually heal, and you'll get full 3-second CDR.
Under what circumstances?
Can I have not. It has nothing to do with this question. I
Sure.
wanted to. Okay, I have one question. Back to Stukov. What 16 do you take with the fetid touch build?
The fetid touch.
Build.
Um,
Yeah, sorry.
I don't think the 16 comes too much into consideration for your build. It's mostly just what the enemy has. Is they have stuns. Super strain kind of feels necessary because it's Sukov's only way to deal with CC. Just super strain. Just hope that saves them. If they have no CC, I mean, I wouldn't usually say that, but Pox Populi, 99% of the time I just pick super strain. Build doesn't factor into it.
Okay. Then because we're still, I'm gonna ask all these questions because they're all.
Mm-hmm.
What questions are you asking?
Okay.
Well,
Wait.
we're going to hold off on the submitted
All right.
questions.
Okay. We'll hold off
Yeah.
on the submitted questions.
Yeah, let's finish through our regular ones and then we can get to those.
Ooh,
Unless we absolutely have to ask one. Did you have one random task? Did you have another question that you needed to ask or can it wait or
You can go ahead, and if I need to ask it again, I will.
okay. Under what circumstances would you pick one white main alt over the other? Is one alt better than the other in general?
Usually her Aegis is better just because of what the meta demands. There's a lot of burst. White mains, I like picking white main a lot into Genji specifically. And a big reason that white main alt is better is because it comes out frame 1. The moment you hit R, it comes out. And of course, the other one people could just walk out of it. Now, the other alt could be good into really heavy melee and tight quarters. Like if they're really heavy melee and you're fighting over like one of the bottom camps in Towers of Doom, for example, and they all bunch up at the point, you drop that you drop the Divine Reckoning, that could get a lot of healing. One problem is Divine Reckoning requires you to preemptively queue people, whereas Aegis applies the applies your trait for you on everyone you hit. So in a perfect Divine Reckoning scenario, you would need to queue whoever you think is gonna like get killed, probably multiple people, which would cost you a lot of mana. Then you have to drop the ult, and then you'd have to W someone. Whereas the best scenario for other white main ult is you run to team and you hit R button. And sometimes if you know Zesty, before you hit R button, you hit D first, then you hit R. So the Aegis is just better in the meta, and the fact that it comes out so quick and it counters dive. The Divine Reckoning also has a hang time, and Divine Reckoning doesn't feel too great until you get its ult upgrade, which it does have a good ult upgrade, whereas Aegis is like good on its own, and then Aegis is like also really good once you get the ult upgrade.
Okay, I have the question now.
Okay.
Back to Stukov. I'm pretty sure that I had the answer, but I just want to make sure. With the fetid touch build, you take the root at 13, right?
You take Palping Pustules at 13.
That is. Oh, that's what does that do again?
So if you put weighted pustule on someone, you wait 1.5 seconds so you see the little circle go down. Once it hits the half point, you hit D, and it explodes, doing a lot more damage, and it applies its slow and its damage into an area. So it's like a living bomb that slows by 80%. So it's like a more safer. It's more safer for tight corridors.
Okay. Do you take the Do you take the 7 that does that affects 2 heroes when you cast it, or 1?
Yeah, that is long. That's long pitch.
You take long pitch.
Long pitch increases range, and if you detonate on 2 people, your cooldowns recharge at double speed for 4 seconds.
Okay, so
You would take targeted excision, and it's not like a Johanna where you could just farm heals off of her. Where you only try to W Johanna, and then you D to get like a really low CDD and just like win the sustain war. But you have to make sure you only hit that like wall lane tank over and over and over again.
okay.
Okay. Um, let's see here. We're getting past the healing questions. We're in our final 2 questions now, and then we're going to get to the Q&A section where all the attendees who have submitted questions in the submitted questions area will get their questions answered. So if you have any more questions about Stukov or any of the other healers, we're going to go ahead and address those after we get through our main core questions. So with Mal'Ganis, assuming that he can be killed with CC and kiting out of his sleep, what other ways should players be mindful of to kill him?
So the main way you kill Mal'Ganis is CC. If you don't have CC, Mal'Ganis kind of runs amok. Knockbacks are very good in Mal'Ganis. If he's charged up his sleep and ETC or Lucio knocks him back, that's more time he has to run to the enemy, which is more time you have to hit him. The one big thing for Mal'Ganis is once he hits low percent, a stun needs to be ready. For Carrion Swarm, it has to be a stun to stop it. But the big one is the health swap. Uh, Once Mal'Ganis is reaching 30%, someone has to be very aware to be ready to stop it, because if you stop it, Mal'Ganis dies. Because he's committing everything to try to get this swap. So like my mindset with Lucio, because if I'm Lucio into Mal'Ganis, that's like one of the worst heroes for Mal'Ganis to go up against. So I see it as my job to like make him miserable. I'll boop him whenever I can to get close to him. Like if you see the second Q claw, and he's ready to aim that third one, which has a stun, you can knock him back, which ruins his combo. The 2 claws you don't really care about, and the third one's the one that matters. So you can always just like prep a stun when on his second Q swing. And with sleep, he has a very specific manage where like he folds his wings in. Wherever you see that, you just hit him with the knockback with Lucio Q. And when he's starting to reach 25%, and I feel like my team is ready to kill Mal'Ganis, I will not queue. I will look, because the health swap has a very loud like sound cue, like it almost sounds like an alarm. And whenever I hear it, like I just instinctively queue him, and he dies pretty much if he doesn't have a save from his support. So basically, just be aware to stun him when he's at high health, but when he's starting to reach that low threshold, like get a stun ready.
For Nazebo, when would you pick the Toad, Spider, or Deep builds? Is there any build that is better than the rest in general?
So I haven't played Nazebo, but there was a very specific Diamond Hands comp to play Nazebo, the one with zombie wall into Stuka low blow.
Mm-hmm.
I can stream this again to give a good
Okay,
rundown.
great.
So I've usually seen Spider build, and I've seen Thing of the Deep, but I haven't really seen too much Toad build. The strength of Spider build is the most single target damage. And Thing of the Deep lets you be safer.
Choose a talent. Choose a talent.
The main problem with Toad build is Toad build seems kind of strange at what it wants to do. On one, you think like it's better against dive, because if someone's diving you, they're in your face and you hit all your Toads. But a big part of that damage is Toads of Hugeness, where it's eat hop, they do more damage, and if they're in your face, they don't hop. So it's like, okay, is it like keep away? And it's like by the time they get here, like the enemy sees that, they get out of the way, and Toads of Hughes is bigger, so it's more obvious. So usually with dive, the best way to kill divers is Nazebo, because Nazebo has no mobility, so it's if he's dove, it's either he kills them or he gets killed, or a support saves him. Usually the best way to save yourself in Nazebo is someone dives you, you E, you throw a Q down, and you ice block, and you hope the spiders kill them before they kill you. Whereas toad build is you have to get 2 toads out, and by then you could be dead. And the other build, Thing in the Deep, Thing in the Deep overall is safer, and it facilitates your zombie walls. And if zombie walls are a really important tool in that game, it really appreciates it. So you complete your quest, so you can see Thing in the Deep increases it by a bit range, and this lets you like dance out of like range, auto attack range, because you don't want to auto attack trade as an Azebo. You just kind of want to throw your Q out, run away, and that's how you beat the range assassin. And of course, if your tank ever finds something, the E range helps you get it more, or lets you walk in a position like earlier to like E a choke. Because there are some range assassins that like if they're out of position, their tank finds something. Like Vala could vault to fix her own positioning and then follow up her tank with her Rain of Vengeance. Naz doesn't have that, so the range increase can help you follow up on your tank better. And of course, if Zombie Ball is like a big part of why you're picking Naz the game, because there are some games where Zombie Ball can just like kind of carry, and there's like sometimes there's like really good chokes, like they don't have a lot of mobility that like jumps over terrain. You can just kind of throw this in their way, like Towers of Doom, like the midpoint, like where the objective's right here. If they try to run up here and you throw a line well down there, you can just win a team fight. And if you have a Thing in the Deep, you can like probably do it from like over here where you're safe and out of vision. And also the range letting you hide out of vision. If you're like in a bush, it makes it harder to dodge your spiders. So I've seen Q build and I've seen W build, and Toad build just kind of seems strange. There's a tech where you can walk up to a wall and throw your E alongside of it, and all the toads will like group up into each other, and it'll look like one toad, but it's actually all the toads inside of that toad. And if anyone touches it, they kind of just get hit by 6 toads and die. If it's like max toads, you can just. But good players won't get hit by that. The TDR is Q build spiders is best single target damage and is the best poke. Thing in the Deep is better for your safety and better zombie wall positionings, and E build is just kind of awkward because it's kind of stuck between it doesn't know if it wants to be good keep away or if it's good and it's ousted by spider build for dealing with like one person that's like diving you because you just throw your Q on them and you ice block and you hope spiders kill them.
Well, thank you so much for the time that you've spent answering all of the questions that the BFT teams put together for you. And we have gotten to the point now where we've reached our Q&A session where we're a little bit over time. And I hope, how many questions do you think we have, Random Task? How many questions do we have in the submitted?
There is
It's like 1.
4.
Okay, so you want to go ahead
Three of them are hero build related.
Okay, well, go ahead and start with one. Whichever, you're the one vetting which ones we need to and presenting the order. So if anybody has any last minute questions, you can submit them in the submitted questions channel. And we'll try to get to all relevant questions or relative questions. And if you have an anonymous question you want to submit, you can DM it right to Random Task.
Okay. First question. What do you think about starting a fight if you're have a hero advantage but you're down a talent tier?
Usually the hero advantage is stronger than the talent tier, with a few exceptions. Ults, you should just not fight in ults, just period. Unless, like, as they get ults, you see a kill. Other times, that's usually your ticket to get back in the game. So if like they're 13, 13 also like in general like is a pretty weak talent tier for a lot of heroes. But if you're down, they're 13, you're 12, and you have more heroes, that might be your ticket to get in a fight because it could snowball. Like if you kill all of them because you just have numbers advantage, that could actually put you ahead in levels. 20 also is one I would not recommend fighting, but there are some situations where if you do not fight, you lose the game. So like if they're 20, they're about to get an objective and it's going down open core. Like let's say if it's BOE, you're down 2 keeps, they're 20, and the immortals are spawning, and you're 18. You're not getting 20 anytime soon. You have to fight. You just kind of have to because if they get it, it's game over and you won't get 20 time. If they're 20, the objective's coming up and you're 19 like halfway. Maybe you can stall and your author can get you 20, but if it's looking too far away, sometimes you have to fight downtown. That doesn't apply to 10 because the game is usually too early, so it shouldn't apply to 10. If they're 10, do not fight. Otherwise, on every other tier, numbers trumps talents.
Okay, cool. Um. Okay. So I think there's kind of since we're running a little low on time, I
Yeah,
agree
just
with
go to
Lazy
the
Moon
next question.
here. It says white main build and tips for playing here, but I think let's just say
I-
white main tips for playing. If,
I think
Sorry, cut off. Go ahead.
yeah, tips for playing white main.
I'll stream this and try to go super quick. So
at the highest level,
At the highest level.
I can zoom to my talents. You go P the Frail, Martyrdom, the Cleanse, Aegis, Subjugation, W build. So those two. The main way you heal as white main is if you are sustain healing, you just do 1 Q, then you clemency them, and then you Q them again. For heavy damage, if there's no way you're the target, it's you Q, you W the enemy, and then near the end of it, you Q your teammate again. If your teammate is in threat of dying, you just kind of mash your Q button. And you quickly W to reduce 1 stack of desperation. Immediately cancel it and Q again. So that's like a really good way. If you're getting dove, you Q yourself again. W, don't channel at all, just to reduce the desperation stacks. Then Q again.
nice.
If you're safe though, fully channel your W. If you do not feel safe, just channel it just for 1 second to reduce your desperation by 1 counter, which gives you more chance for Qs. Because once you get to 3 desperation, you burn through your mana. So I would say the combo is Q into W, just cancel it, Q again, Q, and then like E, then just Q, and then at that point you're just burning through your mana. But if you save the person, it's worth it.
Cool. What is the best Morales build for solo healing?
Solo healing. So the best build from Morales solo healing. I'm sorry, my throat's getting a little dry. Wait, I need to find the builds.
Would you like a couple of minutes? Do you need a
No,
couple of minutes?
it's okay. We're almost done.
Okay.
The best level
Yeah.
1 is life support. Because it lets you heal poke better. You can Q for a few seconds, and then when you drop it, your energy comes back really nice and fast. Caduceus on level 1, you put yourself in a lot of danger. If it's a wall tank like Johanna, maybe you can chip away at her for free energy. But life support is really safe, and the energy regeneration lets you heal poke, which is something Morales is not great with. On number 4, cellular reactor is usually the best. Trauma trigger kind of comes up a little bit too late, and the passive doesn't matter, and blast shield doesn't really matter. For 7, this is really comp dependent. It's if they have a lot of slows, then you go physical therapy. Usually Vandanilum is the best. If they're stunned, because Morales specializes in healing people that are under heavy fire, and this just lets you double up on that. Stim drone if it looks good. Medevac otherwise. 13 usually goes system shock, reducing their damage, and while you're healing your patient, it just makes single target burning down your patient very, very difficult. If you feel safe, you can go first responder for even more burst healing, and the Morales likes the movement speed increase. And if you think going in to heal someone would put you in high danger, like they could just turn on you, go extended care. And if they're really stunned heavy, you can go shield sequencer. 16 is a very flex talent tier. And 20, if you go the double shield, I guess you could go hospice care, but usually hyperactivity is the best one because it just makes your range so fast. It becomes even good on tanks just because tanks can just run at people. Like just having a Diablo move at 50% movement speed is like pretty crazy. And if he's diabolical momentum, obviously he gets more out of that sim drone.
All right, cool.
Great. Looks like we have one more question left, right?
Do we have one more question? Well, sort of two. I think they'll both be pretty short. What's your preferred build on Anduin? Or recommended build you prefer to play on Anduin?
The one is pretty flexible between a lot of players I've seen. I've never seen one dominate. I like even-handed, just because it helps with poke. Don't zero in on focusing on only healing people who get affected by even hand. So if you heal your noob, and a noob is taking punishment, but you see your Vala has like an even-handed proc, and you could heal Vala, just heal your noob. I know you don't get the level 1 value, but don't zero on it. But even-handed does let Anduin heal poke better, and that is something Anduin struggles with. On level 4, I know a lot of people like Pierce Light. I don't like it. I like the consistency of Moral Compass, just because it's always helpful. Surge of Light is a tech pick on Infernal Shrines because you can hit the Shrine Monkeys, and you can get CDR off of it. So you could root someone, hit them for a big burst of damage, and then if they leave and you auto the minions and they come back, your E is back up because you get CDR off of everything for Surge of Light. On 7, I just go Desperate Prayer because it's a big amount of burst healing that is not tied to pull. If you feel like you can save someone without pulling, you can Q and then Desperate Prayer, and that sometimes gets them out. Make sure you're safe to do it though when you do that. 10 at higher level, Salvation gets punished a lot more, so Light Bomb is usually taken more often. But if they have very low CC, Holy Word sometimes can just shut down the game. On 13, I like Speed of Pious. If you throw your W and run away from it, that 30% movement speed on a hero that doesn't have any movement speed prior, as a mobility prior, you can hold that 30% movement speed for like 4 seconds if you run away for your W. And it's also on demand. The other ones have like you need to auto a few times for push forward to really stack up. And enchant boots, you need it to be on. You need Leap of Faith to be off CD, which I guess if you're off your mount and you get surprised and you need to run up and save someone, maybe that's nice. But usually Anduin, your pull is being forced a lot in high place, so a lot of times a lot of Leap of Faith is on CD. And if Leap is off CD, you're usually zeroed in on trying to find the situation to use Leap. And on 16, a big part of why Anduin is played is because of Sleep. So the Glyph of Faith is just crazy. Also, the CD, if you use one leap, the CD is still ticking for your second leap. So it never feels bad to have it be down like one leap. If for some reason you don't want it, I guess Inner Focus is really good for burst healing. You could Q, Inner Focus, reset, Q, and then Desperate Prayer for a huge heal on one person. And on 20, I go the stun route because making it a stun is like really nice. And I mean, that makes it a lot longer too. It's like 2.5 seconds, I think. Inner Fire doesn't really come up too much. And I guess if you did take Holy Work Salvation, the upgrade's crazy.
Cool. And the last question is, what is your favorite tank to run with White Mane and then Anduin? Lucio, sorry, not Anduin.
White Mane usually bursts low HP tanks that cause the enemy to commit on and get baited, and then White Man can save them, and then you can turn the team fight. And I would say I really don't like playing with Tyrael because Tyrael can't stay a White Man outside of Saint. And White Man does appreciate having CC because White Man herself has no CC outside of Harsh Discipline on 16. As for Lucio, any tank really kind of gets value off of Lucio because they always appreciate them just been moving them around.
Great. Was there any other questions, Random Task?
Nope.
Awesome. Well, just wanted to say thank you so much, Valamar, for coming, and for spending the extra time with us. And we have the BFT organization has commissioned a drawing for you that we got from a Discord user called Savage Drogo, and they drew this drawing for you, and it's available with a transparent background and also a black background. We thought we would have this done up for you as a thank you for your participation tonight. Excuse me, I can't talk anymore either. So
Yeah.
your participation. And so I will message these images to you so you can have them. And as far as closing remarks are concerned, I didn't put a list of the biggest takeaways for tonight because I think I was guessing that we were all going to take away a little bit of something from tonight. And for me personally, the biggest takeaway was all the meta stuff we talk about, especially at the beginning of the interview process, where we weren't talking about characters specifically. We were talking about things like team culture and sportsmanship and coaching and things like that, which were kind of more in the meta side. So for me, that was my biggest takeaway. What was your biggest takeaway, Random Task?
I'm sorry.
Do you not have one? You weren't
Yeah.
expecting that. Okay, that's fine. But then to move on, then we are having an open house after this. So if anybody wants to join us for some games, we'll have some custom games using a schoolyard draft. If interested, please join the Wacky Wednesday waiting channel after this event. And I believe Zed is here. Zed is going to be facilitating that. And then I just wanted to make a note that BFT always accepts North American teams that want help setting up to compete in NGS, Nexomania, and more. Not a new team. If you're not a new team but want a new home, we'd love to have you. DM Zednam period in Discord if you're interested. And again, want to thank everyone for joining us tonight, for making this event such a success. And we hope that you'll look for more events in the future from BFT. And I believe that's going to conclude our event for tonight. Thank you so much again, everybody.
Thanks for hosting us. It was fun. I love the drawing, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, great. I'm so glad you do. All right. Thank you, everyone.